Now that the noise has died down a little bit, let's focus on the case itself and focus on some of Peter's allegation in all of his posts. So let's establish something. There are two cases. One at the Federal High Court, Lagos State, under Justice Alexandra Okoye. That is a 7-count money laundering case. And the prosecuting party is Federal Republic of Nigeria through EFCC. And the defendant is Jude Okoye and Northside Music Limited. The second case is under Lagos State High Court, Special Offences Court in Ikeja, under Justice Rahman Oshodi. And that is a 4-count alleged theft case. The prosecuting party, EFCC prosecution, and Federal Republic of Nigeria. The defendant again here is Jude Okoye plus Northside Music Limited. So, what exactly is Peter accusing Jude of? Let's start. Number one, he's accusing Jude of opening a company that he knows nothing about, and the company was used to represent the group called P Square. So first, let's understand that there are two different Northside companies that are registered, and there are some other ones that I found that are not registered. So the first one, we have Northside Entertainment Limited. That is the older company. And the CAC source registry data gives its incorporation date as March 16, 2007. Registration number RC685022. And then it lists Okoye Chidozie Jude, Okoye Paul Nonso, and Okoye Peter Obumuneme as his director. So basically Paul, Peter, and Jude. And court evidence has also described Northside Entertainment as part of the corporate structure through which the P Square business was operated alongside Square Records. Square Records was registered on the 5th of July 2012. And the directors again, Peter O. Okoye, Paul N. Okoye, Jude C. Okoye. So all three people are both directors in Northside Entertainment Limited as well as Square Records. Then come the company that Peter is accusing Jude of opening, and that he says that Paul knew about it. So Northside Music IN Limited was created February 25, 2015, and it was later changed to Northside Music Limited. And the directors in that company are Umwekeke Fioma Chidima and Okoye Jude Chidozie. And the shareholders listed were Omi Okeke Fioma Chidima, who has 800,000 shares, not $800,000, 800,000 shares. And Okoye Jude Chidozie has 200,000 shares. So you might have heard about $800,000. That might have come if a share is valued at $1. So that will give $800,000 for 800,000 shares. But I know that there was some talk about $800,000 somewhere, but it is 800,000 shares according to the registration of Northside Music Limited. Let's take a pause here. If there is a company called Northside Entertainment Limited, why would Jude and his wife now open Northside Music Limited? They could have decided to choose a totally different name. Why did they have to, why does it have to be that closely related? So that's red flag number one. They could have opened a very different name. So why did they open the name? Peter also accused Jude that they lied in the registration because according to the registration, his wife was born in 1980, which he said is not true. So let's fact check what he said. So going through Jude's wife's birthday post, she posted in 2020 that she was clocking 30, and you can see the picture right above me. And the company registration says she was born 1980. A person who was born 1980 will not be 30 in 2020, they will be 40. So that means she was not born in 1980, she was rather born in 1990. So they did falsify information on the company registration, which is again asking, if you don't have any intent to commit fraud, why would you falsify the birthday in registering a company? Another accusation was that there's an Access Bank that is tied to the company. So Access Bank tied to Northside Music Limited, and that the address was number 8 Carter Street in Ebute Metta, Evans Square. Peter is saying that is your wife's address or something, their family house or something like that. Why would you use your wife's house to register the bank account, right, of a company that you were going to use for the P Square brand, right? So let's pause that. Remember that I have an Access Bank. So there was other company that I found that was not registered. For example, the Northside Music Inc. that was used for the contract with Cynthia Morgan. That company was never registered, so you know what it means. It's null and void. There was another one that I found, Northside Inc. HQ. That is also not registered. So I found out in WordOrgs, there's a business entity, business entry titled Northside Inc. HQ, and the address is the Square View, 178 Lola Olaway Street, Omole Phase 1, Ikeja, Lagos. And the category of the company is called a record company. So how did I tie that back to Jude? Is because the website on that listing shows it as northsidegroup.net, which is Jude's website. Two companies now that are not registered, Northside Music Inc. and Northside Inc. HQ. But again, that's all about that. But focusing on the one that are registered. So we know that there are three registered companies. Northside Entertainment Limited, the very first one opened in 2007. There is a Square Records Limited in 2012. And there's a Northside Music Limited in 2015. Those are registered. But according to CAC record, all three companies are not active right now. So this means they've not been filing taxes and they've not updated their records with the CAC. All three companies. And that means a lot for a company like them. So let's go back to the case and see the case of how Peter is accusing them of taking money and not giving it to him, and specifically not Jude and Paul now, because we have ascertained that Northside Music Limited is owned by Jude and his wife. So Paul is not even involved, right? How Paul came into the frame, I don't know. If they're sending Paul, I don't have that evidence yet. So according to the charges, there are four specific royalty figures from Less Record, 767,554.15, another Less Record payment, 34,537.59 pounds, Cobalt Music, $133,566.49, MTech Limited, $118,652.23. So the EFCC alleged that this payment related to musical digital distribution or publishing royalties, and that Jude dishonestly converted them with the intention of depriving Peter of his interest in the money. So remember the three dollar figure that we said, 767,554.15, 133,566.49, 188,652.23. Everything has up to 1,019,762.87 cents. So hold that number. In a separate federal high court money laundering case, one of the federal counts alleged that 1,019,762.87, exact same figure from the money they received from Les, Cobalt, and MTech, exact amount, was sitting in an Access Bank account operated by Northside Music Limited, the same Access Bank that Peter is alleging that the address is Jude's wife. So the prosecution alleges that a bureau de change was then used to convert all of that money into naira, and the proceeds were moved into various bank accounts in an attempt to conceal that the money represented proceeds of unlawful activity. So that is really where the issue is coming from. You received money from three different companies in dollars, Let's Record, Cobalt Music, and MTech, put it in an Access Bank account of Northside Music Limited, a company that has no direct affiliation with either Paul or Peter, and then you use bureau de change and move that money into several naira accounts, right? That's where that issue is coming from, right? And there's another separate issue about a property at number 5, Tony Romosele Street, Parkview, where they bought a property for 850 million using money that they knew or reasonably ought to know had formed part of proceeds of unlawful activity. So that's another federal allegation on Jude. But you can see here that truly, there is a trace of the money received from three different companies. A bureau de change changed it and they spread it into different naira accounts. There's no reason why you would do that if it's not fraud. Again, allegedly. So I don't want to make this video too long. Those are the allegations that I've seen, that I've taken and verified. We'll keep taking the allegation and removing the one that is true and the one that is not true. So reason for yourself. Why did Jude open a company that was the same name, despite the fact that it was his and his wife? Why did they falsify the date of birth? Why did they receive money and use a bureau de change to change it and transfer it to several naira accounts? Why? Answer that question yourself. Have a wonderful day. Definitely stay safe. Thank you.